Well, hello. Welcome back to the Dorm Room Audiophile, the only YouTube show that will never take a BetterHelp sponsorship. It's been quite a hectic time in the dorm room here recently, as I'm sure it has been everywhere. And I've been thinking a lot about music, as I often do, and kind of why I've decided to sit down and talk about and think about and collect music the way that I do. And I think what I can pin it down to and what I want the main conceit of this channel to be is that in a world that is currently scary, I mean, it's kind of always scary, but scarier than it's been in my lifetime, for a lot of people, having something that sharpens you, as I believe music does, that can also help distract you from what's going on out there, is very helpful. And when I say going on out there, I'm talking political, but I'm also just talking in general, right? Sometimes it's very hard to get out of bed, weather's bad, stuff's going on, we all have it. And I wanted to today talk about 3 albums that I listen to, 3 CDs that I have, that I put on when I'm feeling particularly angry or stressed out, or I just need I need a break from all of it, okay? And I tried to pick some more out of the box albums. I could sit here and talk about Pet Sounds all day by the Beach Boys or Rio by Duran Duran, but I wanted to pick some albums that kind of all represent different things that I think music is important for, and also maybe give some recommendations, So let's start. I think we'll probably go chronological order here. This is my Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker box set, but this box set has Jazz at Massey Hall by the Quintet in it, and I got this box set partially because I wanted to hear that album, and partially because I love Bird and Diz, which is the first album in this box set. And I really have come to appreciate Jazz at Massey Hall, not just as a jazz album, right? Not just as a historical live recording with all of these amazing players in it, but also kind of as something that evokes something broader, to me anyways, about what makes music important, right? Because I feel like Jazz at Massey Hall is something that if it was not recorded, it would be like a fond memory of the people who got to see it, and not much more than that, right? Maybe you'd get a jazz biography about it, it'd probably be some mythical thing, but because it was recorded, even if it was recorded in kind of a low fidelity, I'm pretty sure by Mingus himself, I think, from what I remember, Charles Mingus had like a reel-to-reel player, and you can hear it cut out on the recording. But I think that sort of thing is interesting because you get a feel for the camaraderie between these players, right? I think if Jazz at Massey Hall, if the Quintet, as their build on this album, do anything well beyond just playing the standards and meeting the expectations of the crowd, it's the sort of compassion that is shared in the room, right? You hear them BSing with each other, you hear the interplay between the different musicians, and I think when you're in a place where you're kind of lonely and you feel very isolated, hearing a recording like that is important and empowering, and it helps that it's a bunch of really, really great music as well. Let's see. I'm gonna go here. This is a Smithsonian compilation of Leadbelly performing at a few different schools. I believe these are schools and like recording studios that were populated with kids as a live audience. So Leadbelly is, I think, probably my favorite blues player. Oh, I just realized there's a glare. But one of the things that I think the blues as a genre is really good for, and Leadbelly in particular, is you see that these blues musicians are so steeped in a love of music and a knowledge of these different standards, right? Because this is before a lot of these songs were in the American canon, right? Lead Belly knew these songs because he heard other people play them. And on this album and other Lead Belly albums, you really get a feel for Lead Belly's appreciation for the music. Another thing that I think is interesting is Lead Belly often fills these songs and these recording sessions with personal anecdotes, or he's like chatting with the kids. And despite, you know, his the mythos around him being the most famous murderer in music or whatever, he has a lot of charisma. Like he gets along with these kids very well. He can get them to sing along. He's flirting with their teacher, you know. It's really, really charming and interesting. And on the 28 songs you get here, you get a lot of mileage. You get work songs, you get classic gospel songs, but you also get, you know, kid songs. You get silly kid songs. And I think that balance is also really, really interesting for a recording like this. This kind of goes back to the history thing, but it's also just a very lively performance. And the Smithsonian's Folkway, if we're talking about like the technical stuff, this sounds great. Like, it's very well recorded, well reproduced on disc. So if you guys can find this, you should probably get it. It's really good. And then the last one's a bit of a personal pick here, but we got the Velvet Underground, the first album, or no, God, not the first album, the third album. So the Velvet Underground, I came to appreciate the Velvet Underground as a very noisy, you know, druggy rock band, right? The first two albums, they're very intense. They have a lot of distortion and grit in the recordings. And I, up until recently, hadn't really thought about this period of their career. And now that I have, I think it's probably my favorite. At the very least, it's my favorite lyrically. Like, you very seldom in the history of rock music get a band that does as much as the Velvet Underground did so well, right? And I think that itself is worth appreciating. But this album also represents another very important to me tenet of music as an art form. And that is, it's a very empathetic album. It's written with a lot of compassion, which is strange considering the band that it came from, right? But I think the Velvet Underground's, one of the big things that the Velvet Underground always emphasized, and one of the things that made them very, very interesting, was not only that they were like talking about these seedy characters, right? And they were talking about drug abuse, and they were talking about queer individuals long before those things were acceptable to talk about in public. But there's an air of sympathy and compassion for them, even in, like, you know, oh dear, that was my headphone amplifier. Even in like earlier recordings, right? You go back to Lady Godiva's Operation, that's about gender dysphoria. And it's really interesting that this is the album where that's the vocal point, because I think in taking away a lot of the grit and a lot of the distortion and a lot of the noise, you just have these compassionate, intimate songs that are really wonderful and that have been very helpful to me in my life. And I also think just, you know, ignoring the lyrics here and ignoring songs like Candy Says and Pale Blue Eyes and Jesus and After Hours, this album also just, like, the way that it's recorded, the way that the singing is recorded is very comforting as well. It's a very soothing listen, and that sort of thing is helpful, you know. This is a very good album to have on late at night, I think. This is kind of a great, especially if you can't sleep. It's very mellow, but it's not mellow in a sort of lame way, or mellow in a way that denotes a a lack of effort or a lack of artistic integrity. Yeah, those are the three albums I've highlighted. Maybe if this goes over well, I'll do some more. Maybe not. I hope everybody out there in this miserable rock on in space is safe. That's all you can hope for.